From Hempwood, gee whiz, thank you so much for joining us here on the Online Flooring Expo. This is new crazy. The world is going crazy, or to a standstill, I must say. But you've got such a super exciting product. We want to know more. So welcome to the Online Flooring Expo.
Hey, well, thank you for having us. Everything was going great, kind of on schedule, kind of on budget, and kind of to plan, until this whole COVID-19 thing happened, and it's ground to a halt. So we've been working in this technology, and I've known you from the bamboo days more than a decade ago. This is, I wouldn't say a derivative of that, but this is the future of what bamboo started. So working in the wood flooring industry first, and then migrating to bamboo, and then moving to eucalyptus. The natural progression is hemp is something that the industry or customers are interested in. It's the new hot topic. It has this cell structure that works with kind of breaking it apart and putting it back together. And it has the ability for an entrepreneur to come in and do it, where big companies couldn't touch this. There were big corporations that were interested in doing something with hemp as building materials. But in the United States, it was only legal on a state level. So anyone who had to follow federal regulations couldn't touch it, like your mohawks and your shawls and things like that. And their lawyers even looked at it and said, well, we're going to wait and see how this pans out for you, because they have to answer to the SEC. So their funding could get disrupted if they did something on a state level that wasn't legal on a federal level. So for me, I just had to come up with a name that didn't say hemp in it for the company name, so it didn't show on invoices, on shipping documents. And then we could go about following the state regulations, and we had to switch to using a small bank and things like that. But I brought Jimmy Song, who's our partner, and you know Jimmy, from the bamboo. He's been working on this with me since 2014. And Dario Tomat, who's my partner in the Smart Oak, the Tasmanian operation we have. And I've been working with him since 2014 as well on this. And so it's a natural progression where we could take what we learned with bamboo, improve it into eucalyptus. And then we came up with Smart Oak because that was kind of pushed by the government to find a value add for the logs in Tasmania. And then Hempwood, just the natural progression, the market called for it. And so we answered.
And Greg, I would imagine that at the moment, with everyone in this crisis having to rethink life and get back to bare essentials, that sustainability is going to be on the agenda on a much higher level than ever before. What are your thoughts on that coming through the process?
My personal thoughts are a little bit different than what the mainstream thinks. But I do believe that what's happening right now with the COVID is Mother Nature's means of saying, hey, watch what you guys are doing. And this is a reality check for a lot of people. And so, yes, sustainability and environmentally friendly is definitely going to play a stronger role, because everyone is kind of looking at wastage that they're having, or products like LVT that are not eco-friendly. Vinyl is vinyl. When I worked in a vinyl siding plant when I was in university, we used to have one of the old guys who was there for 30 years that said, the only thing that is going to last a nuclear detonation is cockroaches and vinyl. And so it just doesn't go away. That was a guy who'd been working at Certainty, the vinyl plant, for 30 years. Yeah. So sustainability is definitely going to play a role. And unfortunately, a virus is something that's going to cause everyone to kind of look at this and say, hey, maybe we shouldn't be disrupting ecosystems and nature and certain animals and certain trees and certain plants and certain oceans, because we're just a piece of the puzzle. And regardless of what we do, Mother Nature will win. And so we can be a blip on her however many billion-year radar, or we can continue riding the wave. But we have to be a little bit better about it.
You're speaking very close to my heart. You know, like, I love sustainable products. You know, it's the corks, it was the bamboos. You know, we were in the bamboo industry for many years, and hemp is such an exciting product. But the question everyone's going to ask is that, can it deliver the physical and aesthetical attributes that people so love in normal timber? You know, is it going to be able to deliver what we so love in the natural timber look and vibe?
Yes and no. So the caveat to that is, the more natural the product is, the less durability it will have. Waterproof comes from how much glue you put into it. And the type of glue that you put into it, right now we're using soy. And so using a soy-based glue, it is water resistant, but it is no means water repellent. And so if you want to switch to a PF glue, PF has a water soaking test results of less than 5% expansion in 24-hour soak, as well as in your 3-hour boil and your accelerated aging. But it's a dirtier glue. It's a plastic. The soy adhesives that we're using now, which is soy protein, we actually use some dish detergent in there to keep the mold out. And then we have an organic acid that's our cross-linking agent. We borrowed that from the paper industry. It is interior, non-structural. And so if you want something structural, you have to go to your oil-based glues. If you want something waterproof, the more oil-based adhesive you put into something, the stronger water resistance it will have. So the way that we can get around that with what we're doing now is we're doing an engineered product instead of doing a solid floor. So the engineered flooring that you can see here, we're putting it onto a piece of plywood. Onto a piece of plywood, you get your wood grain visual here, and then you have your stability of an engineered, which is actually one of the problems that bamboo had. And so we're learning from our past is that bamboo or any sort of compressed product is going to want to spring back or going to want to move, something like that, whenever you have humidity or moisture or things like that. And the solution was for bamboo and is for hempwood to put it on a piece of ply, and then you have your cross-directional layering. So we're also doing some panels and things like that. That's a way we can keep with the eco-friendly look or the eco-friendly company theme, but have a more stable product. What I can also say is our hardness is up there, but if you use an oil-based adhesive, the hardness goes up another 20%. We're already 20 to 40% more than oak, but you can take it double if you use your PFs or different things like that. What we'll probably end up doing, and what we're working on right now in our laboratory we have here, is some sort of a middle ground where you could use an additive to our current adhesive that'll give it a backbone that allows it to perform stronger. We might be able to get up to the structural bonding, but that's still to be determined by the scientist. I just make rectangular logs for a living. I can't speak for what the PhDs do, what the people with letters after their names.
I actually think that actually adds to a lovely story of, you know, we have a familiarity with engineered timbers. So it's a great stepping stone into the world of hemp and supporting the initiative to accelerate the technology over a period of time. And also, like, you know, like organic fruit, it doesn't look as perfect as the fruit that's got all the insecticides and pesticides. So there's almost like a willingness to go there and support. Maybe it isn't 100% bulletproof compared to the plastics of this world, but it has the heart and the correct relationship with our planet, which has so much more value. Can you tell us a little bit more about the visuals and the coating treatments? Are they the same as normal timbers, or do you have to do something a little bit different?
Oh, we have to modify. So I can show you here. I have a few different boards. I'm sorry, they're a little dusty. I just had to grab them out of our sample room. So you can see I have a brown stain here, kind of a chestnut look, and then this is the natural. This is what is called a riff song. So when you take your block, the block like this, you can see actually has the compression that is coming down this way. In order to get a wood grain visual, I got to turn it this way and cut it like that. And that's actually something that we learned from Smart Oak. So Smart Oak, which you can see at smartoak.com.au, we were making basically an LVL, but it was stacked all going in the same direction. And we make a log or a block that's basically 10 inches tall, 8 feet long, 4 feet wide. We do a hot press panel, and then we let it move or warp or bend or do whatever it's going to do. And then we sand it down, and then we cold press it together, and we cut it and turn these boards sideways. And I can show you the visual here of a piece of Smart Oak has that same linear visual and turned it sideways. Yeah, this is what I have in my house. This stuff is wonderful. It hasn't caught on outside of Tasmania, but in Tasmania, it's rocking and rolling. Just so happens there's only a population of 500,000.
Well, I'm really excited to get this into Africa and South Africa. So, conversations are going to start happening a little bit more fast and furious, my friend.
We have to automate our plant. And so automation is what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
We have proof of concept in a laboratory, intellectual property, and trademarks and patents and all of that stuff. Now building our pilot plant. All of that has been accomplished by the end of 2019. We have product into the market on a board and block level last year. And this is going into picture frames, furniture makers, some people doing their own custom flooring, a lot of various items like this pen I have sitting on my desk is made out of it. There's duck calls, there's everything you could think of. You can check out our Instagram site. It's Hempwood_, and you can see Fender just made a guitar they're actually launching this week. And they had like 150,000 people that watched some guy just riff on the guitar last week. So there's all of these custom craftsmen and woodworkers that have got their hands on it and started to make this beautiful stuff. And I sent out a hand-signed letter with it, the first 1,000 orders that went out last year. And just said, look, this started way back when in a nanotech lab, and then the entrepreneurs got a hold of it. And I had my roommate, he moved out because we turned the whole basement level of my house into the laboratory for this thing for 4 years before it was really allowed completely in the market. And so we were just trying to figure it out and do what we had to do. And then we sent it out to all these people and said, look, we know it's not perfect. It's a natural product. Please tell us how to improve it. And if it doesn't fit your needs specifically, but we can improve it, we'll send you some more. And so we ended up getting greater than 50% feedback from these letters that we sent out. And people said, hey, maybe you should do a structural element. Maybe you should make a panel. Maybe you should figure out how to do coatings and colors and things like that. We did find that the more waterproof or more adhesive you put into it, which some people were saying they wanted it to be stronger, needed to be more waterproof, it doesn't take stain then. So you got to kind of weigh which one makes sense. We tried adding waxes to make it more waterproof into the glues, but then once again, it didn't take stains. So there's so many possibilities. The glues that we're using right now are eco-friendly. We've done trials on ones that are not as eco-friendly, but they're still allowed to be sold. They both work. We're working on stuff in the middle. As far as the stains, it doesn't sink in as much as you would think. As far as it sits more on the top level because the density is so high. So you have to stain it and then let it set in front of a fan or something like that in our workshop here for an hour or two. You can come back and wipe it off a little bit, and you can apply a second coat if you want it to become darker.
Yeah.
So it doesn't penetrate as much as sit on the top because of the density. We found that oil-based stains work better than water-based, but Bona's been doing a whole bunch of work to correct that problem. And so they've got some solutions now that they're starting to bring out to the flooring industry saying, hey, we have an eco-friendly water-based stain and coating system that works with Hempwood. So they took it as a top priority, and they actually drove from like 6 hours away to come to our grand opening last year and said, there's no way you're going to launch this into the US market without us being involved. We are the eco-friendly coating company.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Mm.
There's just all these nice stories happening. It's just a good story the whole way through, where it's entrepreneurs setting something up, and I signed my house on a loan to build the factory here. And instead of being able to pay a lot of people, especially technically for the first couple of years, business partners from my other projects, I said, hey, I'll just pay you in shares. So we got Dario, we got Jimmy, we got John Cry, we got Michael Cry. He's actually my lawyer. So our general counsel got paid in shares for the first 4 years. It was great. So we could actually make something happen.
Yeah.
It's working. It's happening. The coding systems that we're doing are a little bit different. I can say that the biggest problems that we've found so far in our product is getting the uniformity of density throughout the block. And then the uniformity of density on the very ends of it. On the back end, we have about 2 inches that's a problem. On the front end, we have about 6 inches that's a problem. We make a 52-inch long block, and we cut that down to a 48-inch. So we're having issues with density about 2 to 4 inches on the front end of the block, and that absorbs stain a lot differently. So we're trying to figure out how to wood fill it or how to improve that. So it's still somewhat of a work in progress with getting it perfect, but I can say it's imperfectly perfect right now.
It sounds absolutely beautiful. It sounds like a Microsoft story starting in the garage, kind of, you know. I would like to ask a question with regards to, if you had a magic wand, all right, what's the next thing that you are wanting to really tackle or you need support in?
So from a small business perspective, I can say that the recent program that the government put out to try to help small companies didn't really go to small companies, I don't believe. And you're probably seeing that in the news, but we applied, and we have, I have 19 employees here, including myself. And I had to make a determination of whether we were going to try to fire back up full throttle, or whether we're going to kind of see what's happening with the market, because our sales dropped off 90%. Our inquiries dropped off 90%, and our production is off 80%.
Yeah.
So it's hard to make a decision in uncertain times. And when the government rightfully identified in the United States that making a credit line available so I can just continue going full bore and building inventory until the market comes back, that inventory has to be financed somehow. And it didn't work out for us so far. Knock on Hempwood, it'll come through in the second round, but that creates a lot of uncertainty. I can also say that if we could fully automate this plant, so we were just cranking out blocks so we could get our cost of goods to what we want and know it can be, then things would move a lot faster. Fully automating the plant too would also streamline our ability to license the technology, because we've filed our intellectual property in the EU, Canada, Australia, and the United States. In the United States, we're doing the best we can with what we got. In Canada, we have people interested, but we're not going to actually have production until 2021 in Canada with what we'll call Hempwood Canada, but some partners up there. The EU, we're looking at doing the same thing. And we have, it's like 430 or 440 inquiries for licensing the technology around the world. But until we automate here, I don't want to promise something that I can't deliver right away. And so we're using this downtime to build out our plant. We have some cranes coming in today. We've hired a robotics and automation company to come in and help us, because that's not my cup of tea. It's a little bit above my pay grade with being able to do that stuff. So how fast we can make it work is definitely where the magic wand would be done. At the same time, the product life cycle of something like this really starts out up here at the top, where it says your Tesla, your expensive model vehicle that some people are going to buy as a luxury item. That's where you are for the first year or two. And then we'll be able to get it down to a price where we can have one person in between us and the end customer. And that's where we're starting to get to be now. That's our goal for 2020. And then for 2021, we want to have the automation and the ability to sell at a price where it can go to a downstream manufacturer or a distributor who then sells it to a retailer and sells it to the end customer. But that's going to take a little bit to get there, because our benchmark right now, we are less than exotic woods, but about 10% more than solid oak. And that's with us selling it direct to the end customer. So to get somebody in between there, you got to claw back 30% somehow.
Gotcha.
That only comes from automation or lower cost of goods. Lower cost of goods by having lower material isn't going to happen. So it's pretty much automation, labor cost. Right now, labor is about 75% of our cost of goods.
And Greg, you know, your words of advice, having been on the front of entrepreneurial startups and growing things with your bare hands, have you got advice for all the business owners who are listening to these videos? What should they be thinking about or doing to get themselves out of this crisis and for us all to get to the other side?
The only thing that we can control here is how hard we work. So always be the hardest worker in the room. Somebody might be smarter. I understand that. Somebody might have better backing. But I sleep in the factory here. If you look, you'll see right there, that's my pulled down ladder that goes to my little flat that I built upstairs. And so I'm changing out the dryers at 2:00 in the morning.
Wow.
That way there's a full day of production for my guys the next day. I'm in here 7 days a week. Now, admittedly, on Sunday, I don't come in till 10. And on Saturdays, I don't come in till 8. But it's usually 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. I'm doing something active in here. Then I go have dinner and go for a walk with my wife, go to sleep, and then go in and change the dryers. So she doesn't see me enough, but the only thing you can control is how hard you work. It'll turn around somehow, some way. And I want to be sitting there with a whole lot of hempwood blocks and boards and flooring ready for the market to buy whenever it comes back.
Greg, you're an inspiration. I value what you're doing, and that's heartfelt, my friend. And I really wish you all the success, and hopefully somebody's going to be watching this video and is going to wave that magic wand. But if not, I know that your hard work is going to persevere, and post-COVID, Hempwood is a global product, and I'm looking forward to getting your products here in South Africa and Africa. Thank you so much for joining us on our impromptu online flooring expo. Really appreciate you connecting with us, and thank you.
Hey, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. I see you on the internet on a weekly basis, so you're making something happen. You're making a splash on the other side of the world. All righty, thank you.